Hello YouTube, and welcome back to another enthralling episode of the Budgie box camera videos. Yep, although that's not quite true. I'll explain that in a minute. But firstly, you're probably thinking, Ben, what the hell's happened? It's been ages since you made a Budgie box video. In fact, it's been over a month since I remember you saying this.
Budgie box number 2 is the one that I think she is committed. I think she's doing well. I've got a very good feeling that she's definitely gonna hatch. I'll say definitely. I've literally just said, I said definitely, but you know, I think she's gonna hatch out of her eggs. Like, she's got 4 eggs, she's looking after them very well. So yeah, fingers crossed she does.
Yep, I'll hold my hands up, I did in fact say that. And just after I said that, well, not long after I said that, well, it all went tits up, didn't it? Because once again, she kicked the eggs out the box. Now, I'm not entirely sure what happened, but looking back at the footage, she was out the nest and Opal came into the nest and started messing around with the eggs. Shortly afterwards, Mum came in and she kind of looked around thinking, there's something not right in here. So she decided to kick them all out the box, which was really frustrating because when I found them on the floor, one of them was actually fully formed in the shell, which was heartbreaking. Now, I don't know if it actually died in the shell and that's why she kicked them out, or it actually died because she kicked him out. But anyway, that's what happened, and that's why there's been a big delay, because around about 10 days later, off she went again. She laid 1 egg, then she laid another one, and a day later she laid another one, and then not the next day, and then the day after she another. Anyway, she ended up with 5 eggs. Now, by now, it's about nearly 6 months since I started these videos, so I wasn't holding out much hope for these guys either. But she carried on, and I carried on as well. I wasn't paying much attention though because I've been really busy. So it wasn't until about early last week that I done a count up and worked out that the first egg is probably about due by now. So I started looking at the camera again. That's when I realised that she'd not been in the box for 2 whole days. Now, I don't know why. I'm probably putting it down to the fact that it was 35 degrees and she probably thought way too hot to be in this box, so she left the box, which was a bit annoying. And then Saturday last week, I noticed on the camera an egg had hatched. Now, I went into a proper panic because I was checking the footage and Mum was making no attempt to go back to the box at all. In fact, the zebra finches were the ones that were popping in and out the box and having a look at what's going on. She wasn't. Eventually though, she did, and you can actually see she picks up the shell and tries to shake the umbilical cord loose off of the shell, but failed. She tried it again and failed, and then that was it. She never went back in the box. Now, the baby stayed in there all overnight on its own. Bear in mind, it was still warm in the evening, so I just left it as long as I thought I possibly could before eventually I had to intervene. So off I went in there, got all the eggs out, got the baby out. Well, I didn't do that first. I had to go down the shed, rummage around and dig out the old Benebator 1664 that hasn't seen any action since about 2021. So I got it all cleaned out, got it all fired up, got it all up to temperature. Then I got the bird and the eggs out and put them in the incubator. Well, then I took the eggs out and candled them, and they weren't viable, so I threw them away. But the baby stayed in there. Now, this is where the adventure is gonna begin for me. Now, the first thing I had to do was ring a friend of mine who is very knowledgeable in hand-rearing baby birds. So after I got off the phone to him, I then went onto Google and YouTube and filled my pea brain with as much information as I possibly could. Then I had to go onto Amazon and order the little guy some food, which isn't going to arrive till tomorrow, which is no good because that little guy's not been fed yet. The only thing keeping him going is why he sucked up his umbilical cord before I ripped it off the shell. So I had to jump in the car, shoot down to the pet shop before it closed and buy some egg food, which is not ideal because it's not really fine enough. So I had to whack it and grind it down with this meat tenderising wacky stick thing until I got it fine enough to feed it. So following all the instructions, making sure it's the right temperature and all that, making sure it's the right kind of consistency for a newborn baby budgie, I fashioned up a Nurofen syringe and gave it a whirl. Not gonna lie, it was a little bit messy, but the little guy's crop was full and I was happy. Now, I'm under no illusion that this is gonna be easy at all, or even if he survives, but at least I'm gonna give it a try. I'll be honest, the first night of feeding the little guy was challenging, but we both got through it, and it was such a relief to see him alive and well in the morning. So once I'd freshened up and shook off my zombie status of being very, very tired, I decided to do something for the girls, because there's two reasons I'm going to try and do this, and hopefully it works. One is because they're invested and they really, really want this to happen, and two is for the little guy himself. So that's two very good reasons. So what I've decided to do is, because I've been shunned by the blue tits and the great tits, I decided to take the camera box down from out the front of the house and steal the camera and put it into the incubator. Then I shared it with the girls so they can keep an eye on the little guy themselves from their mum's house on their iPads. Now, I'm under no illusion whatsoever that this is going to be easy. In fact, I think it's going to be quite difficult, but the end result, to see this little guy fledge, that's amazing. And I'm determined to try my hardest, because I love a challenge. So thank you so much for watching, and if you have any advice that's going to help me, then please drop it in the comments, because I'm going to need it. I'm going to try and bring you an update video at least once a week, so hopefully we can all see the progress of this little guy. I do still have the cameras running in the aviary, in the Budgie boxes, so hopefully we still can get something from the boxes. Obviously in box 1 I need to clear out the Finch's monstrosity they've built, but I'll save that for another day. So thank you so much for watching. I shall see you in the next episode. Goodbye.